Welcome, everybody. The info session's about to begin. It's great to see you all here. I see some familiar faces and familiar names already. So glad to have you guys. Just want to take this opportunity to introduce you all to our online DTCM Bridge program at Five Branches University. My name is Nick Hancock, LAC, and I'm our Associate Dean in the DTCM program right now at Five Branches, and I'm also the program director of the Bridge program. So the Bridge program is running now in its third term with our first cohort, so it's going very well, and just want to let you guys know we spent several years developing this program with state-of-the-art instructional designers and instructional technologists. Really proud to offer it right now. I feel like the curriculum's very well developed, very creatively interpreting the ACAOM standards for this transitional degree. Program has a couple of different focuses, right? Professional development and integrative medicine in the context of TCM. What I'm going to do up front is I'm just going to demo our learning management system, the platform that we use to deliver this program called Moodle. Some of you may be familiar with Moodle. It's very straightforward. It's easy to learn. It's very well organized. Hi, everybody. I see people are continuing to join. It's great. So I'm going to start presenting now. And just wanted to let you all know this session will be recorded, and it may be posted on YouTube later. So here we go. I will present my screen. Okay, and what I want to show you all first is just the simple way to sign in. It's very easy to access our learning management system. So learning.fivebranches.edu, just type that into the search bar. And then immediately what I'm going to show you, I'm going to pretend like it doesn't automatically sign me in, just so you can see how easy that is. This is the website for Five Branches Distance Learning Services on Moodle. Okay, so you just go up to the top right-hand corner, you click Login. And this is the simple, easy way. So everybody who has a Five Branches Gmail account, they will be able to access our learning services on Moodle. And it's really simple. So you just click Login with Moodle. Hello, everybody. People are continuing to join. You click Login with Moodle. And then I just select my Five Branches Gmail account. You can see here. Here's my personal one I've set up. And we get directly into Moodle. So what you guys will see is this is my screen as the program director. So there's more courses here than is relevant for you guys. But what I have already pulled up are the 3 courses in your first term, the first term of the curriculum. So we've got these 3 different courses: Charting the Course for Professional Development and Lifelong Learning 1. We've got Research Using TCM and Biomedical Findings to Enhance Clinical Practice 1. You can see these are all the current terms that I'm currently teaching right now or offering, 2020 summer. We also have Integrative Online Theater 1. So here's the lineup for the first term. Let's take a look at Charting the Course for Professional Development and Lifelong Learning. You can see it's very well organized. Up here at the top left, there's a simple menu that shows us how we are kind of like staged in the site, right? You can go to my dashboard. We can go to the Bridge program. We can go to 2020 summer. Yeah, and, oh yeah. So there's just, there was a little something in the chat, right? If any of you have questions, feel free and type them right into the chat. We've got Sean here, who is our marketing director. He's helping us right now. And he will be reading the chat and kind of filtering those questions and asking them as we go. So feel free, if you have any questions, just type them right in. So here's our professional development course. Professional development is one of the focuses in the Bridge program, right? It's been mandated by ACAOM that we focus on professional development and integrative medicine. One of the big strengths of our Bridge program is that we very creatively interpreted those mandates. So professional development, right, is something that I think is really important as a director of the program to emphasize, because so many of us, when we go through our master's level programs, when we get our license, right, it's such a momentous task, and it's kind of a rite of passage, right? So many people, as they go through that process, they're 4 or 5 year degree programs. They maybe, kind of had an original vision or original goal why it was they got into Chinese medicine in the first place, right? Many people are very inspired. They want the opportunity to make a big impact in the world, right? Impact the medical system, impact their patients. And then as they go through these programs, right, it's a lot of work, and it kind of, you are transformed through the process of getting your master's degree. You're transformed through the process of getting your license. And then on the other side of that, there's a need to either work in a clinic, be an entrepreneur, right? All the rainbow of opportunity that comes when you get your license. But many people kind of get, you know, they choose a different focus maybe than what it was that they originally got into the medicine for. So the way I've interpreted professional development is to try and reconnect all my students with the inspiration, with the vision that they had going in. So you can see here, every course, the opening page to every course has all of our course documents, right? There's an announcements section. There's a netiquette section, right? We can read, take a look, kind of the guidelines for how to communicate. If you're not used to communicating online, or maybe you've never used a forum or a chat, right? Here's some simple guidelines. There's a link here that supports those as well. There's a video, a faculty introduction and course overview. So this program is what's called fully asynchronous, right? You can see the video here. And if any of you are having trouble hearing me or you can't see, just please let us know. But there's every course has a introduction, faculty introduction course overview. And this program is designed fully asynchronously. So what that means is everything has been recorded, developed, created well before you access your learning materials. It's part of the reason why it took us years to develop this program. And it's also, it's kind of some of the highest standards in terms of academic organization in the Chinese medical academic world right now. Fully asynchronous programs, they require a tremendous amount of planning and a tremendous amount of development up front. So you can always be assured that all your materials are created before, everything is organized, there are clear instructions on how to complete your assignments. And everything is delivered in terms of your lectures in the form of videos. So there's absolutely zero requirement to do anything synchronously, meaning at the same time. So you'll never have a requirement where your professor is going to meet you, say, at a certain time, and everyone needs to log in at that certain time and participate live like this. This is the live info session. So in the Bridge program, there's actually nothing developed live, which for the purposes of you know, delivering a program to working professionals, this is a huge advantage, right? Because the assumption is for many of you, you have your license, you're practicing, you have full, maybe not right now during the COVID pandemic, but you know, in previous terms, I've had students who are working 40, 60-hour weeks, and they really need to be able to access the learning materials on their own time, right? Some of them very early in the morning, some of them on their lunch break, some of them in the evening when they come home. The advantage of the Bridge program is that this is very easily accomplished, right? So let's just continue looking at Moodle. So we've got a forum. We've got a forum. We've got student introductions and greetings, where students can introduce themselves, get to know each other. Here are the course learning outcomes for the course. Here's the syllabus, right? Let's just take a look at a sample syllabus real quick. I'll do my best to kind of condense this info session so that you guys can really take a look at what the program's like, because I know we're all very busy, right? And it's 11 o'clock a.m. So I don't want to take too much time. Instructor, contact, the trimester, credit hours, course description, right? This is for professional development. We have learning outcomes, assessments, and assignments. One of the nice things about these very well-developed syllabi is you can see the due dates to all your assignments up front. Okay, so this allows you to plan your schedule for the entire term when you actually get access to Moodle and enroll in your course, right? You can take a look here and see every single assignment, and it's all been edited for summer, of course, right? The program began halfway through, I think it was May 6th was when this one began. But that's another kind of strength of this kind of delivery system, is everything can be organized up front, everything can be planned for up front to work around your busy schedules, right? Here is some more explanation of our ADA policy, Carnegie hours, student technology skills, technology requirements, right? Add drop policy, student services for online students, right? So there's the syllabus. Guidelines for writing. Here's what a sample module looks like. Okay, so the way that the course materials have been designed and developed is in terms of modules. Because it's fully asynchronous, we actually have to guarantee, based on accreditation standards, that our students are interfacing with the learning materials for the full 15 weeks of the term. So while you are able to do it on your own time, quote unquote, meaning you pick your own schedule throughout the day, how you want to interact with the materials, it's actually a time window for segments of the curriculum to be delivered. Okay, so each module, for example, in this course, module 1 lasted 2 weeks, right? And I had the students surface their current professional development plans. Module 2 lasted 1 week, right? Then they kind of get into the plans that they surfaced in module 1 and articulate them as goals. Module 3, they take stock of their current situation. So at first, they surface their plan. They talk about where they want to go professionally, what their goals are for their practice, what their goals are personally and professionally related to Chinese medicine. And then in module 3, it's kind of taking a look at where they're at currently related to that plan. And then modules 4, 5, 6, we start going through actual assessment tools to evaluate where the students are at related to their TCM foundational knowledge, diagnostic and treatment skills, acupuncture techniques. Just to remind people, you know, people get into their practices and they kind of know what they know when they don't know what they don't know, right? So these assessment tools are to kind of wake us back up to the potential of tremendous amount of growth, no matter where you are in your process of clinical practice. Maybe some of you have been in practice for 20 years. Maybe some of you just got your licenses maybe 3 or 4 months ago, something like that, right? I've had both kinds of students so far, and everyone has agreed that professional development's been very helpful. So let's take a look at the research course. The research course, so I teach the professional development and then I facilitate integrative online theater, but research is taught by the wonderful Christine San Miguel, LACDAOM, and she's really a phenomenal teacher. She's worked really hard to develop this course, make it really robust. Professional development and theater, the requirements there are pretty standard and they continue throughout the program, actually every term. But in each term, we have kind of a focus or a highlight course that has more units, a little bit more work, and gets into some meatier, juicier material related to your knowledge and practice skills. And in the first term, it's this research course. We're really proud of this research course. Now, many of you may have questions about research in the bridge, and it's quite distinct and different from the requirements in, say, a DAOM program, right? There's no capstone. There's no big research project. You're not required to participate in research. The focus of research in the bridge is a little bit more clinically based, right? So it's kind of like guiding students how to read, how to orient themselves in research articles, in published research, so that they can use the knowledge that they will gain or the skills that they will gain reading that research, how to translate that directly into their clinical experience, into their ability to communicate with their patients, communicate with other practitioners, communicate with the public even. So that's kind of the focus of this course. Is very similar. You see the first section we get is course communications, course resources, research resources, right? Module 1 here, her first module lasts for 2 weeks. Introduction to research methods. You can see the materials here a little bit more robust because this course is, there's more hours in this course than there is in professional development, as there should be. There's interviews as well, lecture demos, mini lectures, full lectures, overview of module 1. She's got PowerPoint slides as well. Feedback is also sometimes required as part of our assignments, right? Quizzes. Module 2 for her lasts 3 weeks. So research is a little bit more robust. You can see how simple it is. I mean, all your materials are here, all your resources are here. It's always encouraged. The first thing you do is you kind of look at that overview of the module so you know what you're going to need to get into first and foremost. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. You can see she's got some really great interviews lined up, evaluating, exploring research through a TCM lens. Now, that's something else I'm really proud of about our program related to the way that we interpreted ACAOM standards. At 5 branches, as you guys know, we have a really phenomenal cast of well-trained faculty, very diverse faculty, right? A number of our faculty in our DTCM program have taught and treated all over the world, right? Hospitals in China, hospitals in Taiwan, and that experience and that knowledge we've really tried to bring to the bridge program. So we're interpreting integration from a lens that says that actually, TCM, differential diagnosis, already includes a Western differential diagnosis alongside a traditional TCM diagnosis. So those of us who were trained by Chinese faculty who were trained in China, right, this skill kind of is already built in. If you weren't trained that way, then you may be introduced to this in the bridge program, right? The idea that actually TCM is already integrative. And for TCM practitioners, this is actually an opportunity for us to shine because we're already trained, especially, again, if you went through a program like our DTCM program at 5 branches, where you're really prepared to be a primary healthcare provider, then some of these skills will be familiar to you, and then hopefully we will continue to improve those skills. But if this is something new to you, then this is a great time to kind of orient yourself to this kind of expanded view of what TCM is. And in some of my classes, we actually investigate a classical basis, and we actually read some passages from the Huangdi Neijing that very clearly explain that TCM as a style and kind of the cosmology of Chinese medicine is already designed to be able to support and articulate the integration of Chinese medicine and Western medicine, which is a very different view than maybe some people are used to hearing, right? So here's a research course, right? Module 3, Module 4. It's pretty much the same things that we've seen before. I want to show you integrative online theater as well. So there's also a clinical component to the program, right? There's 135 hours of clinic that's required. The nice thing about clinic, again, because we're fully asynchronous, all of your need to interact with learning materials is completely on Moodle. Now, there is a portion of the clinical hours where you'll actually be asked to communicate and collaborate with Western biomedicine practitioners. The way it was designed is this is actually the smallest portion of the hours. There's 4 different categories of hours that I think our admissions associate, Tom Dicklin's going to talk about a little bit later. But I just want you all to know that there's not a big expectation that you guys will be traveling to complete clinic. In fact, your clinical hours, we're actually going to, we've designed it so that we have assignments and assessments. I'm going to show you right now. So the first module is called Refining Integrative Clinical Thinking Skills, right? We've got an assignment here. Let's just take a look at this assignment, right? So this assignment, the directions are, please respond to 3 questions listed below. How you define integration and integrative practice, how you define collaboration, collaborative communication. This is a simpler module. I want to show, actually, maybe not module 1's what I want to look at integrative clinical experience and case review. So in module 2, the assignment is actually for you to complete a kind of abbreviated case study, right? I'm going to show you the worksheet for this module, an abbreviated case study based on clinical experiences that you are already having in your own clinic. So here's what this assignment looks like. Integrative clinical reasoning progress notes. So in this assignment, the students will attach progress notes from their own clinic and their own patients, right? And then they complete this assignment based on the SOAP notes that they provided, right? 3 possible TCM differential diagnoses, explanation, 3 possible biomedical differential diagnoses, explanation. And then in further modules, we get a little bit deeper into how those diagnoses relate to each other. How does the etiology, understanding of etiology and pathogenesis from a TCM perspective, and also from a Western biomedicine perspective, what do those understandings have in common? What do they not have in common? How could they be articulated in similar ways? All to build skills to communicate and collaborate further. So that's kind of our brief overview of Moodle. I just wanted you all to see how simple it is, how easy it is to access. The key here is when you get enrolled, right, the only way to access Moodle is actually through your 5 Branches Gmail. So once you actually receive that 5 Branches Gmail, it gets activated and put into our Moodle system. That's when you have access to these courses. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting now. And next up, we're just going to have Tom Dicklin, our admissions associate. He's going to kind of he's going to do a little Q&A session. And also, I think we have some questions from some of you already that we're hoping to answer. So Tom, if you want to kind of take the reins here, that'd be great.
Good morning. Thank you, Nick. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's good to see we have some alumni on board, too. Good to see some of your faces, or at least your names. I want to remind everybody that is interested in applying that this is the 6-week mark for the deadline. So the application deadline for this fall start for this next cohort will be August 3rd. It's going to be a strict deadline, so any applications received after that will automatically be deferred to our next start date, which will be either in January or May of next year. We're not too sure at this point. Courses go live on September 8th, so that is when the program actually starts. So anybody that is interested in applying, even if you're just at like a 50–60% level, I highly recommend getting your application in. You can always defer to other terms if this fall is not a good time to start. But we have a lot of things to do behind the scenes to get all of the students wanting to start orientated for that beginning class or those classes. So know that there's a lot of work behind the scenes that we have to get lined up, and we need about a 4-week window to do that. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. And yeah, I think we can start off with some of the questions that were already posted. This is more of an informal admissions session here. I wanted to use your time wisely, so I think just answering your questions will be the best way forward, and we can also meet and talk over the phone one-on-one if any additional stuff comes up. So Sean, if you could read off some of those questions, Nick and I can maybe jump in.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sean, Marketing Director. I will be going over some questions. So one that we got in is, what is the difference between the DTCM and DAC titles?
Okay. I think I can start with that one. The agency, the accreditation agency that's allowed this pathway to the Bridge program for students is required that we honor the level of master's degree that the student has when they enter the program. So those of you that have had a master's in traditional Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine, basically master's level training that incorporates acupuncture and herbs, you will automatically get the DTCM degree. Those of you that have just a master's degree of acupuncture, you will automatically get the DAC degree. Any of you that have a master's in acupuncture would have certificate of training in herbalism. Unfortunately, we can't use that for leverage. We have to just honor the master's degree that's been awarded to you. The program is actually the same. So there is no DAC versus DTCM program. With what Nick has described for the course content, every student will be going through that experience, and that experience is not reliant upon acupuncture or herbs. It's mostly you as the clinician. So the program is the same. We simply are going to need to honor your level of master's degree that was awarded, and therefore upon completion of the program, that's the degree that you'll be receiving.
Okay, thank you. The next question we've got is, will clinical experience have to be performed in all one specialty, or can we choose, for example, fertility and pain management?
You want to answer that, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. So In the bridge program, we don't actually have specialties. It's more an evaluation of your current practice in terms of integrative, the way you're actually manifesting integrative practice currently. So if you want to focus on fertility and you want to build communication, collaboration with practitioners in your area, we actually facilitate through the direct experience with biomedicine practitioners. We facilitate your reaching out and you're developing relationship with biomedical practitioners in your area, right? So we have HIPAA forms, we have a letter of introduction from the school. If you like, I can reach out to your preceptor. The guidelines for preceptors related to how you would make those connections, right? It just has to be somebody who's a licensed medical practitioner and who has at least a doctoral level degree or higher. Now, there are certain cases where, you know, somebody's a Western biomedicine practitioner and maybe they don't exactly have a doctoral degree, but they do have a license to practice Western biomedicine. In some rare cases, I may okay those kind of preceptors, but the general rule is they need a doctoral degree, they need to have a license to practice Western biomedicine, and then we kind of facilitate you communicating with them. So, you know, if there's a fertility specialist in your area that you would like to build a referral network with, and we really encourage you to do that, and we help you do that. And then you actually get clinic hours just by having conversations with them, okay? So like phone conversations, right now during COVID, Zoom conversations, even attending conferences, any form of direct experience will count for those hours. So I hope that makes sense. It's like, it's very open to you exploring and interpreting how you want to grow in terms of creating that communication and collaboration with other professionals in the field of Western biomedicine. So it's not, there's not a focused track in the bridge program in terms of like, you know, orthopedics, pain management, or fertility, geriatrics, or, you know, a specialty in longevity. It's really quite open for you, and then we support you in the development of that, if that makes sense.
And that's going to be a very distinguishable feature between this bridge program and a DOM program. So as the admissions advisor, I always recommend students to explore all their options. If you want more detailed, more intensive specialization training, a DOM program might be a better route. The patient-centered integrative practice side of what the bridge program gives you would be kind of that kind of umbrella for focus. So definitely explore your options.
Okay, the next question we have is, can you complete the program on an accelerated pace if motivated to do so? Or are courses given out on only a trimester worth of classes at a time?
Yeah, so I can take that one.
Okay.
The way that the program has been designed, right? I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, you are free to access the materials throughout the day, right? 24 hours, everything's open, but the modules are only open for certain periods of time. So for example, like the modules that I showed you guys in our classes, they have time limits. And the way that attendance and the way that participation is assessed in this program is based on the timely completion of these assignments. So the good news is, if somebody, you know, if it takes one person less time to complete the assignments in the module, right? Say like, you know, our module 2 opens and there's like 3 assignments due over a 2-week period of time. If one person just takes one day to access all the learning resources, complete all the materials, and it only takes them a couple hours in that day, as long as they submit all the assignments meet the criteria, you know, then they will receive full credit. Another person, it may take them several days, it may take them a whole week, it may take them many hours. So it's really up to you how you want to engage with the material. Some people have a limited time, some people have more time, but the answer to the question is kind of no, in terms of will you be able to complete the program at an accelerated pace. So this is what makes it really different from a CEU, right? Is that sometimes with a CEU, all you have to do is just kind of keep your camera on for a certain period of time, complete the assignments, and then once they're completed, you can jump ahead as fast as you want. In the bridge program, it's self-paced in the sense that, again, 24 hours a day you can access all the materials, but each module is only open for a limited period of time. And each term is 15 weeks long. So the courses are only available term by term, right? So you can't just complete you couldn't complete the whole program in the 15 weeks span, is what I'm saying. Is you have 15 weeks to complete all the courses in term 1, 15 weeks to complete the courses in term 2, 15 weeks to complete the courses in term 3. So 1 year is kind of the shortest period of time that you could complete the program. And actually, the way it's been designed, it is quite academically rigorous. So, the idea of trying to complete it faster would actually is not only is it not possible, but it wouldn't be advisable either.
Okay. So the next question we've got, I'll grab from the chat. Are there any prerequisites to this programs if we have an MSOM degree from a state other than California?
Yeah, the degree based on state is not an issue. As long as you have a master's degree, an awarded master's degree from an accredited program, which most Chinese medicine programs are by ACAOM, you should be good to go. So the bare bones for the prerequisites are a master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine or Oriental medicine. It could be a master's of science in TCM or OM, or a master's of acupuncture or a master's of science of acupuncture. All of that will work. So the nomenclature for that isn't that important as long as you've been awarded a master's degree. Master's degree from other programs that are not Chinese medicine based will not work. Then we're going to look at your prerequisites to actually get into those master programs. So because this is a entry-level doctorate degree, we do need each student to have at least 90 semester units of previous college education. So that would be the equivalent of an associate's degree plus 1 additional year. Anybody with a bachelor's of science, of arts, you're good to go. There's no concern there. With that, we would also need to look at the number of hours that were awarded with your awarded master's degree. So there kind of is a line in the sand in the sense that all of our students graduating with this DTCM degree have to have the same number of hours, and that's just a requirement that we have to abide by. So if your master's degree for traditional Chinese medicine or Oriental medicine was anything less than about 3,100 hours, there is some additional coursework in the bridge program, still in an asynchronistic format, that you'll need to take. That class or those 2 classes are called Connecting the Classics with Clinic, and there's a 1 and a 2 version of that. So that is a total of 60 hours, and both of those classes will be offered your 2nd and 3rd term of the bridge program if you need it. If you have 3,100 hours or more, you don't have to take those additional classes. And what those classes are doing is they're showing competency in some of the missing pieces for master's degree with low number of hours that have been awarded. Now, if you are coming in with just a master's of acupuncture, that number is slightly different. So the line in the sand for that would be about 2,300 hours. So any student that's been awarded a master's degree in acupuncture that has less than 2,300 hours, you again would have to take some of these additional courses. At that point, once I see that, once I evaluate your file, I will be reaching out to you and giving you more information. But do be aware of that. So those are the main 3 areas. Your master's degree in Chinese medicine, what does that look like? What hours were associated with that? And then where were you at with your prerequisites going into that master's degree? One last piece to this would be, we do need a general biology class, which many, if not most students already have. We do need a general psychology class, and we do need a chemistry class. And these are just ACAOM requirements that we can't work around. So for most students, they have all 3. Sometimes a student may not have a psychology class, so then we do recommend between the time that they start the program and graduate, they do need to complete that. And we help them find resources in an online fashion, or they can even go to their community college to get that done. So those are the main prerequisites, and some of them are co-requisites, but those all have to be in place to kind of get into the program and to actually finish the program at the end of that first year.
And the next question we've got is, can we get CEU credits for any of these courses while working to complete the program?
Yes, CEU hours, continuing education hours, will be available. Although you will have to check with, the California Acupuncture Board or NCCOM to see how those hours can be applied. So for instance, for the California Acupuncture Board, at this point, only 25 of your 50 can be done as an online experience. The university is trying to reach out to the California Acupuncture Board to reposition those, but that's kind of a special case and that's in progress. But for now, 25 of those hours can be counted. And another piece of that is the duration of your licensing period. So if you're in the program for just 1 year, if by chance your license gets recertified halfway between that time frame, then you might be able to apply more hours. So there's a few factors that go into that. Those that have dealt with the California Acupuncture Board, it kind of works out without too much of a headache. If anybody has additional questions, you can kind of give me a call or send me an email, and we'll go into further details. But be aware that you also might have to be working with those associations just to see what they are going to allow or not allow.
And next we've got, for payment, what are the financing options? Do we need to pay all at once over the course of the entire program? Is financial aid available, and are there scholarships?
Great question. Great question. Financial aid is not available at this time. The university is trying to work with the Department of Education to get that worked out. Although if and when that happens, we're not too sure. So for the time being, financial aid is not available. Students are usually charged based on the number of units that they're signing up for each term. So most of your payments are based on each term by term basis. If you're a full-time student, your first term is roughly about 6 units. So the cost for that term is about $3,037. Your second term is the same. It's about 6 units. So again, $3,037. And then your third term is a little bit less. It's actually 4.5 units. So your final term cost would be about $2,400. If by chance you want to go into a monthly payment option, the university also has that available. That would basically be that term's cost broken down into a 4-month pattern. And there's also a $15 additional fee for the monthly payments. And credit card processing at this point, if you're going to rely on that, I think is 1%. It used to be 3%, but due to the COVID issue, I think they lowered it to 1%. If a student is deciding to go part-time, you'll be working with myself or Nick or some other administrators to see what that looks like. We don't publish that because that's a very individual-based movement into the program. And again, if you're not taking those 6 units or 4.5 units, you would only be charged for the actual units that you're actually enrolled in. So that again would be a case-by-case basis.
And the next question we've got is, for the internship clinical experience, what is the criteria? Can you work at your own facility, or does it need to be at a hospital or the facility? And how does it look? How is it different now with quarantine in place in many areas?
I'll take that one. Yeah, so the categories and the ways that we have designed for you to complete these clinical hours very much rely on your own experience in your clinic, right? There's no requirement whatsoever to travel and actually, participate in patient practitioner interactions outside of your own clinic, other than the direct experience with biomedicine practitioners, which I kind of articulated earlier. And those hours aren't even, it doesn't even have to be over, it doesn't have to include a direct experience with a patient, right? It could just be communication. Again, it could just be correspondence where you're talking about patient cases, talking about patient care, developing a relationship, right? All those kind of communications will be documented, qualified. There will be a signature required from the person you communicated with. There's a form that we have you fill out. So I guess the big thing about clinic that I want to communicate to you all is this is a very, very different clinical experience than the one that you had in many of your master's degree programs, right? When I say the word clinic, many of you think right off the bat, oh, that means me with another practitioner in a treatment room with a patient, okay? So in this program, that's not the case, okay? That's not the case at all. Actually, we've designed assignments where you kind of dig into your own experience with patients in your own practice. You evaluate, pull out some patient files, right? Obviously, for HIPAA purposes, you don't include the name, you don't include any identifying information. And we put you through this exercise of evaluating what's your current level of integrative practice, right? Are you doing a full differential diagnosis in terms of TCM and Western biomedical? That's one of the ways that you can complete hours, right? There's also online integrative clinical tutorials where I actually record patient practitioner interactions, and then I share those recordings with the students, and then the students complete the SOAP notes based on the video recording, right? So that's another way to complete hours. The third way to complete hours is I give the students SOAP notes from interactions that I've observed, and then the student actually does a case study based on those SOAP notes. So you can notice in none of those situations am I requiring you to go out and actually have an interaction with a patient that's kind of outside of your own practice. So it's very different. For the bridge program, it's important that we understand that the context for clinic is quite distinctly separate from, say, a DAOM program or DTCM or MTCM, the master's degree program you're in Pryor. This is the biggest question we get asked is how am I going to complete these hours? Am I required to go out and shadow somebody? The answer is no. You're not required to go out and shadow somebody. No, you don't have to spend time in a different clinic setting other than your own, actually. I hope that answers that question. And we can talk more about this. And Tom also is, capable to communicate this and articulate this. So we have, we've got multiple team members that you can reach out to and really help you orient yourself in clinic. And just so you understand, students have a lot of support as far as that's concerned.
And a large number of the questions are about clinic. And what I've seen since we've been, rolling out these cohorts is as many questions as there is up front, there is hardly that many questions once they're in the program. So it all gets smoothed out and all the students are very happy. I would also say that it's probably more flexible than what you're assuming. But definitely reach out to myself or Nick. We want all those questions answered. What I would also recommend is start brainstorming. Where do you want to go with your practice? I was really impressed to know that there is that professional development and personal development. We really want students to go in the direction that they've been wanting to go into with their private practice. So what I recommend when I actually get to speak to some of the applicants is, you may not be able to solidify the details of that right now, but you can start brainstorming what you want. Who's available in your area to help facilitate those desires? And find a few so that if one doesn't work, if it fizzles out, you have some backups. To me, that makes this program stand out amongst the other programs. And the alumni that we've talked to that were really strong students are just, they're so happy. They're saying, this is what I needed. I needed this kind of push, and I'm getting everything I could possibly want. And I'm going to be positioned 5-6 years from now really beautifully. So.
Okay, and I think the last question we'll have for right now, because we've covered so much, is Liz Chen asked in the chat, is there a difference in the exposure to integrative medicine between the DAOM and the bridge? I'm assuming the bridge program, because she says DAOM and DTCM.
Yeah, the answer to that question is definitely yes. So this also taps back into the previous question about the kind of the focuses, right? The clinical focuses. In the bridge program, what we're helping the students do is connect with the fact that TCM is already actually an integrative practice, and we're helping them reawaken the skills that were maybe kind of, just kind of seeds were planted in their master's degree program, their ability to do more creative and kind of a deeper ability to weave a narrative of patient care where both, again, a TCM differential diagnosis and a Western biomedical differential diagnosis, how those things interact. So in a DAOM program, because you have those clinical focuses, something like fertility or like orthopedics, it's a very different kind of introduction, or I guess, education on what integrative care is. Ours is much more general. Ours gives you the foundation to understand that integrative medicine is the future that TCM practitioners are stepping into, right? I mean, I think we all got into this field because we want to impact mainstream medical practice. We want to make a difference for our patients. We want to make a difference for the culture that we find ourselves in, and we're uniquely positioned to do so. So in the bridge program, we give you that lens, we give you that kind of understanding and empower you to communicate with other practitioners to really demonstrate that we already have these skills, that this is part of what we already do. Just really quickly, the classical context for integration in the bridge that we tap into is actually directly reading from the Neijing, right? In the chapter 5 of the Huangdi Neijing Su Wen, the Yin Yang Ying Chang Da Lun, it says the yin forms a shape, yang transforms a qi, right? So the basic understanding there is that in Chinese medicine, we respect a view that's both materialistic but also non-materialistic. We understand that matter, that particles, that a scientific view that validates matter and particles is something that is definitely valid, but it's only maybe even less than half of the picture, right? We all know as TCM practitioners that there's an energetic component to the medicine that we do, and we need to learn as practitioners how to articulate that, how to weave a narrative together so that when we communicate with other medical practitioners, they can kind of see the expertise that we're coming from. They can see the integrity that we stand in. And then, the results in our clinic, they speak for themselves, right? So really the focus of integrative medicine in the bridge is to reawaken this kind of power and integrity in our medicine to show that integration is what we're all doing already, whether we know it or not. Simply being practitioners here in the United States, we need to empower ourselves to step forward in that, to make that kind of impact. So I hope that answers that question.
And in a very generalized way, that's one way to do that comparison between your bridge programs or your transition programs to DAOM programs. Your DAOM programs are lengthier. They're going to go into more detail. It is more extensive training, and they're usually based on areas of specialization. They want you to go deeply into certain focuses. The bridge program has elements of that, but it's still more generalized. So it's a little bit of a quicker process. You will tap into a bit of your master's level training, but you're not going to go so far into an area of specialization. So that's kind of a quick snapshot, like a bird's eye view of those differences. And again, I would definitely research what is best for you. Where do you want to be 5-10 years from now? Any other questions? I believe there was, what's the longest period you can take to complete the program? Students have a max of 2 years. So any student that decides to go what we would call part-time, you'll be working with myself or Nick or another administrator. We would come up with the best plan of action based on your needs. But there also are some prerequisite courses. So your first 2 courses for your first term, those are prerequisites for some of the other term courses. The second term and the third term, those courses can be taken out of order. So depending on where you're at with how many hours you can kind of designate for this program, We would work with you to see what the best trajectory is. Also, please keep in mind that any student that decides to go part-time, we're not offering this program 3 times a year. We're going to be offering it at least twice a year, but what that means for a yearly schedule, if you don't take each class, again, will be very individualistic. So you'll be needing to work with one of us. But it is possible to stretch it out to 2 years. Past that, we can't do that. There was a question about working as an administrative capacity in Western medical centers. If you're doing just administrative work, that probably won't work towards your clinical hours. There is that clinical focus. Nick can maybe kind of give more information if there's any kind of, shade of gray there.
There's one question that Ilana just posted. Will all these degrees be different in 4 or 5 years? They seem to be evolving.
The degrees, well, I mean, programs may go through changes. This question might be in line with the name changes that have been proposed, which are still kind of in a process of being worked out. So there are some questions on those name changes. The degree that you're awarded will not be changed, right? So there's a big misconception that the degree that I got when I graduated in 2010, 11, like, is that name going to be changed to something else? No, that will remain the same. Programs moving forward from those approved name changes, they will change, okay? So what they're trying to do is clean up the variety of names for these programs out there to make it a little bit more concise so that the outside world can really understand who we are, what we're doing, what our training was, right? So your question kind of has a few parts to it. There will be an evolution because every field goes through that. But in terms of it affecting the degrees you've already been granted, that's not the case. And there's also sometimes the question of, well, will I be kind of out of the loop if these changes happen? And we've never seen any cases of that. So anytime states or larger government agencies make new regulations, usually everybody previously to that are grandfathered in, right? So you just gotta have to think of what the name changes could mean, but what's behind you is that education that you've been awarded, and that won't ever be taken away from you. There was a question on accreditation. So our program is accredited by ACAOM. So the degree that you get, right, the DTCM program is accredited by ACAOM. The degree you're getting is also accredited by ACAOM. That's kind of a tricky question, and some of you may have already reached out to me. And the trickiness of it is even though we called it a program, the bridge program is not a standalone program. What you're basically doing is you're transferring in your existing master's degree into a program, the DTCM program. And that's a program that's been up and running for a while for all of our students that are on campus, okay? All of that is approved and accredited by ACAOM. So upon completion of this bridge program or transition program, that DTCM degree that you're now awarded, that is fully accredited by ACAOM. So you're good to go there.
And I think this will be the last question we take, because I know there's a couple other topics you wanted to talk about, Tom. But one question is, once you complete the program, will there be a graduation, or is the diploma just mailed to you?
There's probably going to be a variety of things. So with the shelter in place and the COVID issues, of course, we haven't had any on-site graduations. If there's enough students and if there's students from the bridge program wanting that, I'm sure the university would do its best to sponsor that. But there's also going to be some issues because we have students all across the United States. So for some students living in the Upper East Coast, they may not want to travel to California. So we definitely will have some type of online celebration and some type of ceremony. And if that is the case, then of course your diploma will be mailed to you. If there is a number of students wanting to actually walk in our graduation, we usually merge our master's level graduation with their DOM graduation. So that might be just an addition, adding the bridge program graduation to that in some fashion. We'll be graduating our first class here at the end of the summer. So some of those details are being worked out, and they may change, of course, as we actually kind of, lessen the restrictions that we currently have. So.
Well, unless there's any other questions that pop up in the chat, I think we can move on from the Q&A session.
Okay.
Can I answer one other question I saw just pop up in the chat? Because it just takes me like 10 seconds to answer. One person asked what the workload expectation was, and the workload expectation is between 10 and 12 hours of work a week. So that's including the time you spend watching the videos, including the time you spend filling out your assignments. That's standard. It's been very carefully organized to only be 10 to 12 hours of work per week.
And I've also received some information that some students thought they could do all that work like in an available Sunday. And we did hear back a little bit that doing it all in one day is kind of tricky. So you definitely want to have a few days designated, for those hours. And spacing it out also allows time to digest it, to polish up the work that you're submitting and so forth. So just be careful of assuming that I have one day off a week, I can just jam it into that and then be done with it. There was a question about information. So if you do go to our website, at the bottom of that front page, you'll see the DTCM program, and there's actually a link underneath that for the bridge program. If you can't find that, just send me an email and we'll definitely get those links to you. You can also, on that main page for the university, submit your information, and that will be funneled into our database. And then I'll be alerted that you have questions about the bridge program. I'll reach out to you and also send you all the appropriate application documents, as well as a curriculum flowchart. And also, yes, the website is being updated kind of on a regular basis, and we have some new updates kind of in the pipe. Those should be happening hopefully in the next week or two. There was a question on any classes being live. All classes, you might have missed out on the first part of Nick's talk. All classes are available in an asynchronistic format, which means that they're pre-recorded and you have a week window, right, under normal conditions to watch that lecture and also fulfilling the homework assignment. Any student that needs an extension due to maybe a trip or sickness or technical issues, you can always reach out to Nick or the instructor. Your instructor is going to be available throughout that whole period. So that is pretty much similar to what you would have as a normal class, right? It's not just you watching a recording and not having anybody to talk to. There is an instructor in real time facilitating that course, the assignments, and any questions students may have. And the reason why we give a 1 week window is we did a lot of research to see what was the best format to allow students to succeed. And the asynchronistic format gives flexibility, but when the window is too wide, students can get behind, and at some point they can't catch up. And due to that, they wanted to make sure that there was a monitoring system to allow flexibility, but to allow progress through the program so that students didn't have, a situation where they just couldn't finish that term's work. So. Interaction with other students. At this point, there is no formal interaction. However, there always is an investigation to see if that's what the students are wanting to do. But at this point, there is no forced interaction where you have to sign up at a particular time and interact with your students. I believe some cohorts are also trying to reach out to create a community, but that would be an option. So, from the admission side, I have individuals that are wanting a little bit of that, which then it would definitely try to be fostered in some way. And some people just want to do it in isolation, and that's also okay. I think that might be it.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions for now that I'm seeing. So if there's anything you wanted to cover, Tom, in addition, or we can wrap up the webinar.
No, that's kind of it. We will be having another one in 2 weeks and another one in 4 weeks. So that'll be a 4-week application reminder deadline Q&A session. And then we'll also have a 2-week prior to the application deadline, another info session just going over any questions you have. At some point, for those of you that are maybe wanting to not sign up this fall, we will have probably a more formalized online session in the fall. But for now, we're just trying to make it as efficient so that they don't take too long. Everybody is more than welcome to reach out to me. I can call you. I can give you whatever information that we can provide for you. I do a few other positions here. So just kind of, be aware that if I don't answer your call right away, or if it takes a day, I might be teaching that day, or I might be doing other administrative work. But for the most part, we can definitely get your questions answered within about a day or two. Okay, so please reach out if there's anything I can help with. And everybody that is interested, definitely you can download the application docs. I can also send those to you. I would say still look at those if you're even somewhat interested, just so that you see what's needed. They're relatively streamlined, but there are a few things that you need to gather. On the back page of the green application form, or the second page of that, is a checklist. So please see that so that you see what's needed to complete that application. And then for those of you that are going to go down that route, please send a personal check. We don't process credit cards, so send a check in with your application. And that kind of gets that kind of ball rolling. And then after we get your application completed in full, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks for us to get back to you. And then the new student orientation, registration, and kind of the springboard into the program will happen about 1 to 2 weeks before the term starts in September 8th. So that's it. Thank you so much for showing up. And again, hopefully we'll talk to some of you again here shortly.